In this video, I'm going to show you how to use your cuts a lot to convert your actual stamps into digital stamps so that you can then resize them and do your print and cut, whenever you want to. So the first thing is to get a really great image of your stamps. And to do that, you can stamp it onto, paper, use black ink and try to get a nice, really sharp image. Alternatively, if you kept the packaging and the packaging has like a nice black and white image, then use that. And that's what I'm going to use as an example. I'm just going to place the insert sheet with the images directly onto my scanner bed and scan that. If you don't have a scanner and you need to use your cell phone to do it, then you can do that, but you need to try to get the best possible image you can, which means having really good lighting, bending over and making sure you get the camera directly over the image. And don't try to do a whole bunch of images like I'm doing in this example. Try to just do one or two images at a time. And then there's a scan to cut method. The scan to cut method is typically used when you've already stamped it. You want to be able to cut directly out of what you stamped versus converting to digital images, which is the purpose of this video. So I'm not going to get into the scan to cut because there are scan to cut videos out there already. I've made one. Sandra Create in Spain has made a couple of them. So you can watch those if you're going to be using your cell phone and you're planning on cutting the images out directly. So I'm going to start by using File, Place Image to bring in the image. And I recommend do that rather than directly in the trace window because we're going to be tracing it a couple of times depending on a situation that came up in a particular question that was posted. So I'm going to use File, Place Image, and then locate on my desktop where I have the image, and I have it right here. And this is my original scan, and I had cropped it down so that it was just kind of right around the particular images that I want to use versus the original packaging. Okay, so here it is. And I'm going to leave it large, even though it's actually, it imported a larger size than the actual packaging, because I can always correct that later. Again, the whole idea behind converting digital stamps is that you can then make it whatever size you want, which is the reason why I convert so many of mine, because I'm like, well, I don't want this flower to be 3 inches. I want it to be 2 3/4 or whatever. Okay, so with this brought in, then with it selected, I'd now go to the trace window. And I'm going to make this image or make this window bigger so that I can actually see what's going on here. And when you brought it in, it's the original default is like set at about 127 and or close enough. And so when I did that, I can see that when I scroll down that I haven't closed up all of these shapes. Well, let me click on blackout. I'm going to do it twice. And the reason I'm going to do it twice is because the question came up, what if I don't want the stuff on the inside, or maybe I do, maybe I want some of it. Well, that's what I'm going to show you how to do. Let's say, for example, you wanted just the little middle part of the flowers cut out, but you don't want all the rest of the inside. You just basically want the outline of the flowers and leaves, and then just these 3 little inner circular shapes. Fine, that's what we're going to do. So let's scroll this back down up here at the top so we can see just the cut lines. And I'm going to turn on blackout for the initial trace. And the reason I'm turning on blackout is so that it won't trace any of that inner stuff if I get my settings correct. So I'm going to bring this up, and then I'm going to click on Update Preview. And I get to the point where I can see that I have all of them. All right, I have all of these traced except for this one. And I'm picking up some specks. So how do you get rid of the specks? Well, the specks can be done by, you can turn on despeckle and see how many, it gets rid of. And sometimes it'll get rid of all of them. In this case, it didn't. No problem. You can come over here to the detail and drop the detail down. Let's drop the detail down to 40 and see if that gets rid of them. Okay, it got rid of all, but I still have this one right here. So how do I get rid of it? Well, this is where you can use the draw mask mode, which we're actually going to use to get this flower to close also. So the way this works is in this drop down menu over here, when you turn on draw mask, you have a foreground and a background. Think of foreground as being plus. You're going to add, background is minus. So just think of plus is on top of minus. All right. So I want to delete that little shape. So I'm going to select the minus, and then I'm going to come down and I'm just going to drag my mouse kind of around that little area and then click on Update Preview again and see if I get rid of that speck. And I did. Now, don't freak out if you end up and find a speck later on. I'm going to show you, where you could have deleted it if you didn't do it this way. So then I still need to get this flower to close. And I asked myself, well, what's going on here? I'm going to zoom in. So I go, zoom in, and then I'm going to scroll down until I get down to that bottom right corner where that one flower is not closing. And this is what you're looking for. And this can definitely happen, especially if you're stamping your own images. Although again, it happened here with one that I scanned the packaging. And that is, it didn't quite close at that one little spot. And sometimes when you come up here and you look, well, you can see there's so faint right there where the original image is. And that's the reason why it didn't close. So to do that, this is when we're going to switch now to foreground, because we're going to be adding to the trace versus subtracting it. And then, by the way, you can change the size. I'd said it before when I was experimenting, got it set to 4, which is about right. So adjust the sizing until it's just going to be about the thickness you see right there. And then I'm just going to drag my mouse just a little bit, just like that, and click on Update Preview. And when I do that, now then the blackout has worked. It's closed the image, and this will be the cut line. And I go, okay, great. Now I'm done with this, other than I still want this little middle hole here. How do I do that? Well, I'm going to show you. So go ahead, make sure you have prompt down here. You have prompt to continue tracing marked so that you can trace it a second time without blackout. So I'm going to click on OK. And then, would you like to continue tracing this image some more? Yes. And so then I'm going to turn off blackout, update preview, and I'm going to click on OK. Now I'm going to have to delete all this stuff. It's really easy to delete extra stuff, as I'll show you. So I'm going to click on OK. And then, would I like to continue tracing this image to add more layers? No, I'm done. So now then, after tracing, this is what we see. And first of all, you have 2 layers. The original one, which is, let me hide what we brought from the trace window, our original, imported JPEG. I'm going to hide that one, and I'm going to protect it because I overdo everything. And then on the second one, this is a group, and it has both of the traces we did. The one that's just the overall outline. Let me hide that. This is the one that's just the overall outline. And you might want to just give that color like none so you can kind of see it. And for now, I'm just going to leave it just like it is. And then we've got, well, I'll take it back. I'm going to hide it, and then I'm going to show the one that has the internal detail. Now, this is the one we're going to break apart so that we can get rid of everything except those little circles. And to do that, we go to Object, Break Apart. Okay, then we're going to come over and we're going to turn on Show Outlines Only on the document panel so we can still see all this. And you'll notice when I select, it's still selecting everything, so you may need to go to Object Ungroup. That's something that sometimes you don't need to do ungroup afterwards, sometimes you do. So just make sure you can come back here and select everything individually. So all I want to keep is just that very inner part of the circle. So some of the stuff I can just grab very easily, just grab big groups of it one time and delete. Because this is all separate, I can also, as soon as I see it's grabbing something on the outside, I can just select that and delete it. And then I've got all these little pieces here that, again, you can just grab them and delete them. This is where, if you had any extra little specks that showed up that you missed in that window that I was talking about, just see them here, and you can get rid of them. And then I'm still going to get rid of the big stuff here, and then I'll zoom in tighter for the rest of it. And show you a little bit about how you can more easily select just what you want. Oops, and when you accidentally move something, just use Control-Z or the undo to move it back. Or in this case, I want to delete it anyhow, so no problem. So, okay, so now that I'm going to zoom in. And one of the tricks, one of the little shortcuts is if you're having a hard time getting something to capture, just hold the Shift key and then drag across it, and then you can more easily get a hold of it. But here it's getting pretty easy. Once you get rid of a lot of the big stuff also, you can more easily look over here on the layers panel, because you can open up the layers panel now and everything is its own individual shape. Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's click away here and get the rest of this kind of big stuff. And then you can look for these like these parts that are going to be the big circle, like that one right there. And so I'm going to lock that. Okay, and then over here, ooh, if I get just that little middle one, then I can just select it, or however you do it. I mean, there's a million different ways. Again, I'm going to lock that one, and then I can look down and try to find that last one, which is it's not there. Where is it? Is it up here? Yep, that's it right there. And so then I'm going to lock it. Then once I do that, then since it's locked, you can come up and just do a big marquee select around all of it and delete it. And of course, confirm that, you're not losing the part that you want. Okay. So then once I have all those, I'm going to come back and I'm going to unlock them. and I can reselect my, the outline part that I wanted, and then I can take all of this. Oops, I got just a little bit extra right there. Delete that I missed. Okay, does that look like I got all of it? It does. Then I can select all of it and go to Object Merge. And the merge part's important because that's what will then guarantee that when it comes down here to do this flower, it'll cut that middle out first before it cuts around the outside. And that can be very important for stability because if you cut the outside first, it can loosen the material from the mat and then you might have a problem cutting the inside. So you always want the little parts on the inside to cut first. Okay, so then, so I'm going to just show you a few more things. So let's look at the style panel here. When I come back and I turn on, oh, and by the way, if you don't see your original image, you may still have show outlines only on, so you got to turn that off again. Also, it gave me the fill color again because I had broken the other layer, so I can come back here again and select the, sorry, let's make the stroke. We'll leave, you know what, we'll give the stroke color like red or something so we can clearly see it. Okay, and then the fill color will give none. Okay, now then what we see here is our printed image, and then on the style panel, when we select that layer, it should be set to print+cut, which is a print and cut project, and it will print only. That layer can't cut. And then our other layer, which is our merge layer, which is going to be our cut layer, it is set right now to cut, which means that red outline would print. If you don't want that, which you don't, then you would change that from cut to print+cut, cut only, and then that layer won't print, it will only cut. Couple of more things. Sometimes you might want to do a simplify so that the cut is smoother and faster. If you want to do that, go to Path, Simplify, okay, and make sure you just have your merge layer. You don't want to send your print layer there, just the cut layer. And then you can see how many nodes that are there. And there's 1,097, which is quite a few. So let's say I got the threshold at 50, and then this is where it can be very important to kind of zoom in and make sure it's not affecting the integrity of the cut because you don't want it to end up being where oh, now it's like really you've lost the nice precision of the cut. In this case, it looks really good. So you can click on OK, and that simplifies it. And then the other thing is that in some situations, you might prefer a contour cut, which means you're going to have a contour around. Let's say you don't want the little circles in the middle, and you just want an outside contour cut, like you're doing stickers or something. Then again, you can have this merge layer, and then instead you're going to go to Effects, Shadow Layer. Okay, and then if you did have some interior cuts like this circles you don't want, you click on blackout shadow. You can change the shape of the shadow, and often, especially with text and stuff, and even maybe in this case you might prefer rounded, especially if you're doing a sticker or something, or not. Again, that's your freedom to do what you want. Click on this print+cut outline so it'll automatically set that shadow layer to print+cut, cut only. And at the same time, it's going to take this original cut line and change it to print only. So you don't have to try to remember, to do something with that layer that you're no longer wanting to cut. It will just, well, actually it'll be print only. If it's red, we need to get rid of it anyhow. So I take that back. We'll want to change that. Probably just hide that layer. So anyway, and so then I've got the whatever shadow size I want. Don't worry about the color because it's not going to use the color because you've got this print+cut outline. This is just here so that if you weren't using print+cut outline, you'd be able to see what it looks like. And then click on OK. And now then here's a shadow layer that you can bring up. Let's just drag it all the way up to the top. And now then you can see that. And then this one right here, which is our first cut layer, we can delete that or you can hide it if you want to hang on to it. Okay, and so now then you can see what the cut line would be around the print line. So I believe that's all I wanted to cover. As always, different situations present different problems or, whatever. So don't hesitate to reach out to me for help or to post on one of the groups.